Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the first official show for Made for Mars. We are so happy that you could join us today as we continue our mission to grow the Mars economy and help humans thrive on Mars. I'm your host, Matamona, and today we're diving right into the fascinating world of Made for Mars and the Colonize Mars game, exploring the innovative technology and some of the ideas that are going to help us shape life on Mars. Can you just imagine that though? Life on Mars. Well, that's why I am so excited to be here tonight to introduce you to this innovative project. But of course, I can't tackle this mission alone. That's why I have a very special guest with me tonight who's going to walk us through the ins and outs of Made for Mars and share some of his expert knowledge on how we're going to make Mars our next home. So let me bring in the founder of Colonize Mars himself. Look who is here. Hunter is here with us. Hi, Hunter. How are you?
I'm doing great, Mona. Thanks everyone for joining.
Of course. I mean, you got to be, I know I'm so excited. You must be excited too.
It's a great day. Yeah, I'm really excited to share all the news and the updates that we have. It's going to be awesome.
It is. I mean, it's really exciting because the team is back with tremendous progress and updates for both the Colonize Mars game and Made for Mars. There's so much for us to talk about. So I'm going to just jump right into our segments here. We are here to address a big question, right? And the question here is, what is Made for Mars? And Hunter is going to walk us through that throughout the show. So our show is going to have three segments. The first one is going to be our mission briefing segment. And in this segment, we're going to explore what is Made for Mars, why does it even matter? And then in the development segment, Hunter is going to walk us through how Colonize Mars fits within the Made for Mars ecosystem, and more importantly, why your participation in all of this really matters. And finally, we got a challenge for you with some exciting prizes, of course. But guess what? You have to stay until the very end. But before we go right into the world of Made for Mars, I do have to say, let's all remember, this show is not a financial advice. It's not a legal advice. It's not a tax advice. It's definitely not a relationship advice. Hunter and I are just two Mars enthusiasts sharing our love for the game and the red planet. So you know what you got to do your own research. All right, Hunter, now that we got that out of the way, why don't we jump right into our big question and dive right into our first segment here, which is addressing what is Made for Mars. So why don't you go ahead and take it away and kind of introduce this big question. What is Made for Mars?
Yeah, thanks, Mona. And Made for Mars, it's been a long time coming, and we've been working on this behind the scenes for quite a while. And we're excited to launch it here with everyone listening in. So, Made for Mars, it's a bioastronautics company that's designing solutions for humans to thrive on Mars. And what we're doing is it's the first company that's going to use the simulation, which is the Colonize Mars game, and fueled by player decisions to drive a data engine, one of the most sophisticated data engines that exists on Mars. And all this is underpinned by a digital economy, which centers around Marsha. And for anyone who doesn't know, bioastronautics, it's essentially a field of science that's focused on humans thriving and living on other planets and in space. So it's really exciting. We're going to be talking through a little bit of how this vision that we've set out for relates to the game and how it relates to the simulation, and really how things connect so that everyone can kind of stay up to date and understand really where we're going.
And that's really what makes this whole thing so special, right? Because it's not just a game. It really connects us to a much, much bigger mission, which is really, really exciting. And by the way, our website for Made for Mars just went up today. If you guys want to learn more about Made for Mars, head on over to madeformars.net to learn more about this exciting and innovative project. And if you have any questions, Hunter is here to answer them for you. All right, Hunter. Earlier you mentioned the simulation. You were talking about that, and that is the Colonize Mars game. Now, I know we have returning audiences here, but we also have new audiences. So I have this video here I want to play for those who are not familiar with Colonize Mars, and then we'll be right back, okay?
Colonize Mars is the only blockchain game where your actions can propel humanity to become multiplanetary. Our mission to successfully colonize Mars depends on your in-game efforts to master specialties and overcome hazards. Build a thriving colony by experimenting with cutting-edge technology designed by leading aerospace experts and scientists. Combine your gaming and tokenomic skills to embrace a new life on Mars. Your contributions will be rewarded in Martia, the currency of Mars. Grow the size and rarity of your inventory to earn more Martia. Martia is easily accessible through multiple blockchains and enabled by token swaps. Unlock your adventure for less than the cost of a cup of coffee. Humanity's future as a multiplanetary species depends on you. Play now at colonizemars.com.
I swear I have chills. I'm not even kidding. I have chills. I mean, guys, do you understand what we're doing here? This is so exciting. I mean, there is nothing like this out there. I am truly honored to be a part of this mission and this project with you guys. Thank you for having me. I truly am honored. I just had to have a little emotional moment there for you. But
Yeah,
it's
that
just
show is awesome. I love it.
it's crazy what's happening. And anyways, I digress, but I do every time I watch this video, I have chills. But go ahead, talk to us a little bit about, especially our new viewers, talk to us a little bit about Colonize Mars and what is this simulation game here?
Yeah, so the reason why this game is so interesting is it's the only simulation game that allows for player actions to essentially become what could potentially make life multiplanetary. And so it's a real-time strategy game. And what it's doing is, as a player, you are testing the latest technology in the game. You're helping grow the Mars economy, which is persistent and it's growing as time goes on. And you're ultimately helping expand humanity across Mars within this simulated environment. And I love different aspects of the game. I mean, one of my favorite is the drone view. You can pilot a drone across the surface of Mars. You can control rovers. You can operate high-tech equipment. That's all been designed, in-house by our team. We have scientists, we have engineers, and experts that have, for years now, been designing technology. And the great thing is, it's pretty easy to start out. You can just connect your wallet. The interface is very intuitive. You can start earning resources, which is another key part of the game we'll talk about. And it's also it's a deeply strategic game too. So as a mission control operative, you can go in different directions and learn different skills. We have hundreds of skills that we're launching with our gameplay release. We also have over 90 different achievements we're launching. So there's so many different ways to play. And yeah, you can really have an impact on shaping the discoveries and innovations that will come from the game that can actually help us on our mission to colonize Mars.
That's just incredible. Now, you mentioned player input a few moments ago, and that's really the key term here. Let's talk about, while we're on this topic, let's talk about some of the key gameplay features, because we have and guys, I am learning all of this with you too, but here's how I did my homework. We have the resource chain, we have hazards, and we have the colony development, right? So I'm going to bring up here, let's start with the resource chain. Walk us through this. What is the resource chain? How does it work?
Yeah, so the resource chain is one of the foundational elements of the game. And think of it as all the different pieces that you need to operate on Mars. So things like water, fuel, food. And so there's mineable resources and there's sort of manufacturable, producible resources. And what's really cool about our game is that every resource is realistic to Mars, both the type of resource and also the quantities. And the resources flow through a chain of equipment and vehicles and astronauts, also in a realistic manner. And the goal as a player is to the goal for you is to maximize efficiency and produce net positive resources. So on the screen, on the top part of this screen, you'll see a chart, and that chart represents the net positive resource amounts in green. So your goal is to make those green bars as high as you possibly can. And the lower half of the screen is the resource chain. So the resource chain is a visualization of how the resources flow in a realistic manner all the way through every item that exists on Mars, from solar panel arrays all the way down to ice mining plants and other complex equipment.
So the resources are planetary items that are already on Mars that we would essentially use, correct?
Exactly. So Mars is a self-sustaining environment if we have the right technology to utilize things like the atmosphere and subsurface ice. So it's one of the exciting parts of this game is that we're exploring how to make a self-sustaining colony and every single aspect that that contains.
The other aspect of this that I learned is hazards. I actually didn't know that there are real hazards on Mars. Talk to us about the hazards, real life hazards, and then how does the resource chain interact with hazards?
Yeah, so this is really the second big gameplay pillar, and hazards essentially interrupt the flow of resources. So some examples are dust storms, mechanical failures, um, astronauts might get sick, and the reality is that Mars has a lot of challenges that we'll have to overcome. It's also, 33.9 million miles away from Earth, so the equipment needs to work. It needs to be in peak condition. Astronauts need to be healthy in order for things to work and us to expand across Mars. So the gameplay of hazards is identifying things that are damaged in the colony, things that might be damaged or are close to being damaged, and repair them as quickly as possible to get them back to that efficiency. And when you do that, your equipment becomes operational, your astronauts stay healthy, and that allows you to, going back to the resource chain, make sure that things are as efficiently producing resources so that you have that net positive.
Well, I want people to understand we're talking about real hazards on the real actual planet that are going to, if we were there, they would attempt to disrupt the flow of our resources, right?
Exactly. And this visual here is a snapshot from our drone view where we have almost this augmented reality effect where you can visually identify things that are damaged. So you'll actually see, dust on the solar panels, and you'll have to inspect those and then go and fix the solar panel. And you'll see an astronaut come over and repair that. So there's things like that visually that you can inspect with our 3D map.
Wow, that's just incredible, which leads into the colony development. Can you break down for us the colony development and what that means?
Yeah, so colony development is sort of this third pillar, and it's for those that master the resource chain and have those excess resources to invest in expanding across Mars. So, uh, just for an example, astronauts, as more astronauts come to the surface of Mars, more housing is needed, more houses and more inflatable sleeping pods and more apartment complexes. And so, a construction project is a type of colony development where you input construction materials, and the more you contribute, the higher your chance of getting rewards at the end of that construction project. And so this interface here is showing basically a construction project across the bottom. And we've worked with scientists and engineers to model our construction process in a way that is realistic to Mars. So you'll see astronauts surveying a spot on Mars. Then you'll see a 3D printing robot come over and start printing the foundation. And then the printing will end, and then you'll have inspection, and you'll see the astronauts moving in. So there's all different kinds of construction projects. There's also convoys, which is a second type of colony development. And this is new rocket ships coming from Earth to
Mm,
Mars to drop off crew members and drop off cargo. And then innovations are also very interesting because
mhm.
you invest data, which is a resource, and you can get skills from investing in innovation. And so all of the skills are plausible enhancements or improvements in process, like repairing equipment or driving vehicles in a more efficient manner. And all of those things are in innovations as well. So this is for all of the excess resources that you're getting from your resource chain, you put straight in there.
But all of this, so if I am starting today, I can't, as a player, I have to master the resource chain first and foremost before colony development becomes available to me, right? And then once I get there, I can also collect rewards for my contribution. Did I understand this right?
Yeah, and some of the rewards are things like ownership cards, which are really valuable because they're actually an ownership NFT certificate of an actual item that's in the simulation. And there's some other really cool rewards that we'll get into, I'm sure, in a later show. But yes, that's generally how it works. There's different levels of mastery in the resource chain, so we like to think that as a beginner player, you can still try colony development, but if you really want to take advantage of it, the more mastery, the better.
You heard that, guys? The more mastery, the better. Hunter, I mean, it's unbelievable. What you and your team have built here is just so much bigger than what I realized, and I'm sure what a lot of our viewers have realized, because it's not only it's a very fun and challenging game, it's a strategy game, but more importantly, it's a game that clearly inspires a much bigger mission. But let me ask you, which this brings me to a bigger question. Why is it so important for humanity and for us to even colonize Mars?
Yeah, this is the big question, right? So for me, like the thought of having humanity on a different planet is something that is so inspiring. And there's a couple key reasons that I think that this is probably one of the most important things we could possibly do in our lifetime. The first one is the science that we can conduct on Mars will help us answer questions about the origin of life. And these are questions that people have been asking for thousands of years. And we really need a planet that has continued to grow and evolve similar to Earth to understand really more about life. And we might even find life on Mars, which would be really exciting. I also think that if if humans land on Mars and are thriving on Mars, and we actually are building a self-sustaining colony, that it's going to inspire a lot of people on Earth, particularly young people who are in school, people who are trying to figure out what career they want to pursue. And this will inspire people to be engineers and scientists. And, this kind of uh, inspiration and passion is really because they see that there's a whole nother level of adventure and exploration that exists beyond Earth and want to be involved in that. And I think that that can really help progress innovation, not just on Earth, but also on Mars and help us make sure it's efficient and inspiring there. And then the last thing I'll say is that this will truly unlock a new chapter of what it means to be human, and to have people living among the stars is an extremely exciting thing to think about. And what we are setting out to do is to show people the blueprint of what it looks like to live on Mars from day one to a self-sustaining situation. And that's such a key part of inspiring people and helping people visualize what their life could look like on Mars.
But I mean, as you're talking, I'm thinking, okay, isn't NASA doing that? I mean, why can't we just rely on NASA or Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or, I mean, all these big tech players? They have the money, the resources. Aren't they more qualified?
Yeah, this is a really good question. And um, those folks and organizations, they're doing a fantastic job. They are primarily focused, however, on the transportation system. So, getting us off of Earth and to Mars. What we're really focused on is, once we get to Mars, what do we do? And how do we ultimately thrive on a new planet? So no one's working on, what does the economy look like on Mars? And how does that connect with resource management and land ownership and allocation of labor? And then also, how do we organize on Mars socially? What does the government look like? We don't want to carry a lot of the baggage from Earth to Mars. We want to really truly understand the socioeconomic factors of what would make Mars an amazing place. And so, with Colonize Mars, we're simulating that in the most sophisticated way we can by making sure that the environment that we're playing the game in is realistic. And that's a big part of what Made for Mars is all about, is driving that innovation to make sure it's realistic. And so that's really key for us to understand and answer. And so we are working alongside those other companies to make sure that we understand how we can actually thrive on Mars. And so they're doing great work, but there also needs to be exploration into the economy, which, our economy is run with Marsha and resource tokens and other things that we believe blockchain is a really key element to a self-sustaining economy, because you need a self-sustaining economy for a self-sustaining ecosystem on a new planet. And so that's really what we're focused on, and we think it's going to be a huge contribution to the space industry.
Well, it also goes without saying that it's not a mission that can be done alone. I know that you work with experts in the industry to consult on different aspects of what you and your team are doing here, but the community is a big part of this mission as well, and we need their contribution and their efforts every step of the way. And we want to make sure our community is rewarded, and they know that they're rewarded for their efforts along the way by participating. And I'm gonna bring this in, Hunter. Hence our weekly challenge. we're gonna be rewarding you for your participation, guys. Yes, there's a challenge every week. At the end of the show, we're gonna have a challenge for you guys to participate. Hunter will be the one that's gonna address the challenge. If you haven't participated in our Twitter challenge today for this show just yet, head on over there right now to our Twitter. You got to follow us first. So follow us. And then this is our first ever Made for Mars challenge, guys. First ever. So be a part of it. Of course, we have amazing prizes for you. I'm not going to say much about it right now. I'm going to let Hunter to explain that later on. So you're just going to have to stay with us until the end of the show. Okay, well, Hunter, let's get right into it. I want you to take us in and just this is actually my favorite part, because we're going to talk about how our actions in the game are going to be translated into data. And then that data is going to be used in real life scenarios on Mars, which is just fascinating. So I'm going to kick us off. I'm going to start with this question. Let's say I'm an average community member playing the game. Can you talk to us about how my actions are going to help colonize the actual planet? Let's start with that.
Absolutely. So, imagine you're playing the game, and within the game, you're producing, of course, resources in realistic quantities. And so, for instance, you're operating a solar panel and you're producing power. So, with that limited power that you've produced, you have a decision to make. So, typically, like, sort of the logical decision is to cover your essential resources you need, food, water, potentially fuel. Once you have all those things covered with the power you're producing, then there a lot of times will be power left over to decide, should I go on an expedition? Should I use that to construct a new building? And when you zoom out and you think about those decisions being made by thousands of other uh, players within the simulation, and how they are choosing to allocate their resources to different things, and especially since when you layer on the realism, and which we'll get into in a minute, how we've designed this to be as realistic as possible, you're starting to identify weak points in the technology. So perhaps you're using that power to produce water with an ice mining rig. Well, if it becomes too much power that's consuming, it's a hotspot for us to invest some time and effort in researching and developing a better way to mine ice, or a better way to design an ice mining rig using the resources we have on Mars, or shipping resources with a convoy colony development mission. So as you can basically see, that can apply to the entire resource chain and the entire game. And over time, this will lead to a continued innovation cycle that will ultimately lead to the best possible blueprint for how to colonize Mars.
Which is, so I want everyone to understand there is a realism side to this that Hunter is explaining to us. And we're going to get into it right now, because I have a few examples here for us to go through. And Hunter, if you can, I have 3 slides we're going to go through, and Hunter is going to explain the realism. And if you can we're going to go through each slide, and if you can tell us how the data, for example, let me pull up our solar panel here. There's a solar.
So,
Go ahead. Because no, I just want to say, when it comes to, let's say, the case of the solar panel here, how is this data on the right-hand side translate into real life data on the planet?
Yeah, so this is kind of a snapshot of how we are breaking down the actual power we're producing with a solar panel in this case. So you can see all of the different elements that go into determining the number in green, which is the average energy per hour that a solar panel array produces. So every single item on Mars, including the solar panel, we've spent time with our experts making sure that the numbers we're using in the simulation are as realistic as possible. And then you, as a player, decide how that power is used, and that's really where it gets exciting. That's where we get those insights in how to improve. So
Yeah.
we can go on to the ice mining rig.
Yeah, we have, here we are, ice mining rigs. Same thing again. We have the data here on the right-hand side. So how is this data used?
Yeah. So in this case, you see at the bottom there, average energy input per hour. And so this is the power requirement to operate the ice mining rig. And then you see the water output in milliliters of what you're producing when you're operating the ice mining rig. And so this translates over to the game. Those green numbers are the numbers that you'll be seeing in the game, and it's split up in players sort of player quantities, which we'll get into in another time. But what's important is that these numbers are rooted in real science, real engineering, and realistic numbers. And by the way, all of these numbers, we are working on a way to publish these, and we want to work with people in the community to continue to improve every single aspect of this over time, so that it just continues to get better.
Wow. I mean, people really actually have to think about this, right? I mean, this is real information that matters. We have last slide here, small house. Go ahead and tell us, what do we want people to do with this data in real life?
Yeah, so small house in this case is one of the structures that astronauts live in. So we've aggregated well-being as sort of a quality and a resource to quantify, thriving on Mars in a certain area, and we're also going to continue to expand that over time. But you can see how we are breaking that down and really looking at the building parameters and how that translates into resource requirements. And this basically helps us quantify how many resources can be produced at 100% efficiency in the simulation. But as a player, you're not going to see all this data in the interface. We're simplifying it, so you're really just focusing on the decisions and the gameplay experience and having fun, colonizing Mars. But behind the scenes, this is a really critical part at driving that innovation engine.
It's just so amazing to see how a game can have such a significant impact, really, in space exploration and real life multiplanetary efforts. Guys, I think Hunter and his team just took gaming to a whole nother level here, which is so exciting. But I have to ask you, so say, looking ahead, you gathered all this data, right? And you gathered all the contribution from the communities. What have we accomplished together, say, let's say a decade from now?
Yeah. So, well, number one, in 10 years, I'd like for us to be on Mars. I do think it's possible, and it's something that we should shoot for. And I think we can have a big hand in doing that. One of the big ways I think we can do that is the simulation game having enabled a thriving economy that is powered by Martia, and it's connecting all of the other areas of the Mars economy. And we want to, ship that to Mars one day and have that be used there. And also, alongside of that, we have a way of continuing to improve the products that we're using in the simulation. And those products, such as better spacesuit designs, better methods of 3D printing, those will also exist on Mars. So our plan is to have those products be used and operational on Mars when we go there and when the first humans go to Mars. And I think what's so amazing about gaming is that the power of play is really incredible, and we think that gaming and that power can accelerate the human innovation and eventually humans going to Mars through this process. And so we think that's really the key to making this work, and that's why Colonize Mars is such a central element of what we're building.
And I mean, the community is so big in this as well, and they're here and they're watching, and I want them to hear it from you. What do you want for the community to walk away today knowing about the project?
So our vision is really about having humanity thrive on Mars. And, we are a company that is focused on building solutions for Mars. And the way that we're doing that is through the simulation, which is Colonize Mars, which is the RTS game that we're launching. We've been developing for years, and we're super excited to roll that out. But also, it connects a data engine, which is driven by insights we're getting from that game. And that data engine is what is also helping us decide what to invest R&D in and what gaps to fill in terms of the blueprint for ultimately making the end-to-end mission plan for Mars. So
Mhm.
if you connect all of that, that's really the message we have today. And we're excited to share that with everyone. Obviously, there's so many gameplay things that we're going to be talking about in the coming weeks. We're we're super excited to roll that out. We know everyone is excited to play alongside us. So yeah, we can't
Absolutely.
wait to get into that as well. And we really appreciate everyone listening in.
Yeah, of course. And you said data, just the data alone we're going to have a show around that. And then there's NFTs and gameplays and tokenomics. So guys, there is so much coming to you. But now that the community has a better understanding I'm hoping you do, of the Made for Mars project and its important mission. Hunter, I think it's time to introduce our challenge. Should we?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it, guys. So as I said earlier, every week there is going to be a challenge. Hunter will present the challenge at the end of the show, and that's for everyone to participate. And yes, of course, there are prizes, and Hunter is going to tell you about this week's prize. Hunter, actually, why don't you go ahead and issue our very first Made for Mars challenge to our awesome community?
Yeah, so our first challenge this week is we want to know why you want to colonize Mars. And so we'd love to hear your answers. I talked a little bit about my reasons earlier, and 5 people will be chosen by me, best answers, to win a hoodie and a sticker from our merch store. And I'm wearing the hoodie right now. So
There
it's
you
full
go.
zip.
He's modeling it for us right there.
Yeah, and so it's great quality. It's some of the first merch that we've released. So yeah, we can't wait to have that contest running.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, our Mars team has already tweeted. Let me bring up the tweet for you guys. They have already tweeted this tweet. Why Mars? So what do you got to do? You got to go over to our Twitter page right now. Retweet. First of all, you have to follow us. Then you have to retweet this tweet and reply with your answer. Why Mars? Why Mars for you? And by the way, there are bonus points. If you are an overachiever, I hope you are, because if you're not an overachiever, I don't know if this game is for you. I'm just kidding. No, this is a strategy game. I hope you're an overachiever, and we want you to put in your effort. Show us the best you got. So if you include a video, a photo, a sketch, a personal picture, take it to the next level, go big or go home, you get rewarded, my friends, for your effort. And then next week, or at our next episode, Hunter will announce the winner during that show. Also, this is your chance now to, if you have any questions for myself, for Hunter, about the show, about the challenge, about Colonize Mars, Made for Mars, this is it. This is your chance. We'll stand by for your questions. Hunter, anything else we haven't addressed that we want to talk about before we leave?
I think that we definitely want people checking out, madeformars.net. That's something we released today, and would love to shout out that. It's a deeper look into what Made for Mars is all about and how it connects to the game. And yeah, just wanted to thank everyone for tuning in.
Okay. Well, you guys heard it. If you want to learn more about the Made for Mars mission, you can head on over to madeformars.net. That website went up today. We're very excited and proud about it. Go there, read, engage, and if you have any questions, let us know. That's where you're going to get the most information about this project. Hunter, thank you so much for educating us tonight. This is a very exciting mission, and I have to tell you, I cannot wait to talk to you again about both projects and how they continue to grow in the upcoming weeks and months.
Yeah, thank you, Mona. It's been a great show.
Of course. And crew, that is a wrap. I know you guys don't want us to leave, but that is a wrap on this week's show. Remember, keep communications open with us on Discord and Twitter for updates as we continue our mission to grow the Mars economy and help humanity thrive on Mars. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm your host, Madam Mona. Until next time.